Hey there, my friend. So, today we're diving into one of the strangest, most talked about sci-fi flicks of the 1950s, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1956. Now, if you've ever watched it, you know it's not just about aliens, it's about paranoia, trust, and maybe even your next-door neighbor not being who you think they are. Creepy, right? Well, let's grab a cup of coffee and talk about 12 weird and fascinating facts behind this classic that'll make you see it in a whole new light. Fact 1. A movie that accidentally became political. Alright, let's start with something interesting. This movie wasn't supposed to be political. At least, that's what director Don Siegel and screenwriter Daniel Mainwaring always claimed. They said it was just a good old-fashioned alien invasion story. But come on. It was the 1950s. The Cold War was in full swing. The Red Scare had people turning on their neighbors, and paranoia was pretty much the national mood. So, when audiences saw a story about people being replaced by emotionless copies, folks who look the same but act strangely off, well, they couldn't help but connect it to the fear of communism and conformity. Some people even thought it was a direct jab at McCarthyism. Others said it was about losing individuality in modern society. And you know what? The beauty of it is, both sides might be right. That's what makes Body Snatchers timeless. You can watch it as a creepy alien thriller, or as a deep political metaphor. It works either way. Fact 2. The studio almost gave it a terrible title. You won't believe this one. Before settling on Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the studio considered calling it Sleep No More, and even worse, The Body Snatchers from Outer Space. I mean, can you imagine that on a movie poster? It sounds like a bad drive-in B-movie that would have been forgotten by now. But thankfully, the producers realized simplicity wins. Invasion of the Body Snatchers had that mystery, that urgency. It sounded like something that could actually happen. A small change, but it made all the difference. Fact 3. Those alien pods were handmade with old-school tricks. Now, one of the most memorable images from the film, those eerie seed pods, weren't fancy special effects at all. No CGI, no robotics, just good, practical craftsmanship. The props team built those pods out of foam, rubber, plaster, and glue, then filled them with sticky goo and smoke effects to make them look alive. When the pods opened up, they used air pumps to push the slime around, giving it that gross, organic movement. And you know what? It still holds up. That low-budget creativity gave the film a raw, unsettling realism. Sometimes the old tricks really are the best tricks. Fact 4. Kevin McCarthy freaked out real people during filming. Alright, this one always makes me laugh. Remember that iconic scene? Kevin McCarthy running through traffic, shouting, "You're next! You're next!" Well, that wasn't shot on a closed set. Nope. They filmed it on a real Los Angeles street. So picture this. It's late at night. There's McCarthy, covered in sweat, screaming at random cars about aliens taking over. And people driving by thought it was real. They had no idea a movie was being filmed. A few even stopped to check if he was okay. That's method acting for you. McCarthy didn't just play panic, he lived it. Fact 5. The studio changed the ending against the director's wishes. Now here's a classic studio story. Don Siegel wanted the movie to end in total despair. That final haunting moment where McCarthy screams into the camera, "They're here already, you're next!" That's where he wanted to cut. End of story. But the studio said, "That's too dark. We need hope." So they added a framing story, the part at the beginning and end in the hospital, where doctors realize his story might be true and call the FBI. It gave audiences a little bit of relief. But honestly, the original ending would have been legendary. Imagine the film cutting right there. No resolution, just panic. That ending would have haunted people for weeks. Still, even with the studio's interference, it remains one of the most powerful closing scenes in all of sci-fi cinema. Fact 6. It was filmed in just 23 days. This one always blows my mind. They made this whole movie, from start to finish, in only 23 days. Think about that. No digital cameras, no shortcuts, just tight scheduling, clever lighting, and pure passion. They used real California locations instead of sets to save money, and that actually worked in their favor. The small-town atmosphere feels totally authentic. That sense of normalcy slowly turning strange, it hits harder because it looks like real life. The movie only cost around $380,000, tiny by Hollywood standards, yet it's still influencing filmmakers nearly 70 years later. Not bad for a movie made in less than a month, huh? Fact 7. It wasn't a huge hit at first. Here's something that might surprise you. When Invasion of the Body Snatchers first came out, it wasn't an instant box office smash. Critics liked it, sure, but audiences were kind of unsure. Some thought it was too strange, others too bleak. But time, my friend, has a funny way of sorting things out. By the late 60s and 70s, people started rewatching it and saying, hey, this movie actually says something. It gained a massive cult following and is now considered one of the greatest sci-fi films ever made. It's kind of poetic, a movie about unnoticed change becoming a classic after everyone finally notices it. Fact 8. The town of Santa Mira became a horror tradition. If you've seen other horror movies and heard the name Santa Mira, you're not imagining things. That little town from Body Snatchers has turned into a sort of running gag in Hollywood. You'll find it popping up in Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, Gremlins, and even The Howling. It's become an unofficial Easter egg, like a secret handshake between old-school horror fans and filmmakers. Every time I catch it in another movie, I can't help but smile. It's like seeing an old friend show up in a cameo. Fact 9. The pod people were inspired by real-life emptiness. Now this is the creepiest part. Jack Finney, who wrote the original novel in 1954, said he wasn't trying to write about aliens at all. He said the idea came from something he noticed in real life, that people around him seemed to be changing. He described seeing folks become dull, detached, emotionless, like they'd lost whatever made them human, and that got him thinking, what if that wasn't just a metaphor? What if people were actually being replaced? So yeah, before the pods came from space, they came from something very human. The fear that the world around us is slowly losing its soul. Fact 10. It spawned a legacy of remakes. This film's been remade more times. Okay, officially 4, but still. The 1978 version with Donald Sutherland is arguably the best remake. Darker, gorier, and that ending? Pure nightmare fuel. Then came Body Snatchers 1993, The Invasion 2007 with Nicole Kidman, and even more unofficial adaptations. But here's what's funny. None of them quite capture the eerie simplicity of the original. That small-town innocence, that slow realization that something's wrong. It just hits differently in black and white. It's proof that sometimes the scariest things are the quietest. Fact 11. Don Siegel believed the pod people were real, in a way. Here's a weird one. Don Siegel, the director, once said he didn't need aliens to believe in the story. He thought the world was already full of pod people. He said that modern society, even back in the 50s, was turning people into emotionless clones just going through the motions of life without passion or individuality. It's a chilling thought. You look around today with all the screens and sameness, and you start to think, maybe he was onto something. Fact 12. It became one of the most influential sci-fi films ever. And finally, my favorite fact. Invasion of the Body Snatchers didn't just scare audiences, it shaped science fiction. You can feel its influence in The Thing, The Stepford Wives, The Faculty, They Live, even Get Out. Anytime a story deals with identity, conformity, or humanity being slowly erased, it owes a little something to this movie. Even critics who dismissed sci-fi back then now call it one of the greatest American films ever made. And honestly, I agree. It's not about monsters or explosions. It's about us. What makes us human, and what happens when we lose that spark. So yeah, that's Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1956. A film that's creepy, smart, and somehow still feels relevant today. Anyway, if you love weird facts and old Hollywood classics like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hang around for more movie deep dives. See you next time.